Banana and Bears Rugby Pod.
Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Banana and Bear Rugby Pod. You're all very welcome back. I am, of course, Tom O'Mahony, and sitting across the way is the other co-host. It is Anna Capeless. Thank you all very much for tuning in last week. I don't know if people tune things in anymore, but everybody who subscribed, downloaded, some lovely things come up from people. They especially liked some of our snippets of silliness that we're coming out with. But we are turning our attention to the actual Six Nations that went on last week. But more importantly, Anna, the most interesting person I know right now, how was your week?
Great. I had a lovely week. Do you know what? The sun is out.
Stop.
Yeah, it is. It is. Now, it's not that warm, but it like if you kind of stay still for a minute or two and the sun is shining directly on you, you feel a bit warm for a little while.
Just
So
walking around with a big magnifying glass trying to get the best out of the heat, like.
do you know it's hard to? Well, it's kind of that awkward time of the season where like you're not sure which jacket to choose, but I just like I have to go with like the black puffer jacket every day because it's not worth it being without it because it gets so cold. Like I'm saying, it warmed up. It was still like minus degrees overnight here during the week, but it's okay. Like I told you that I'm like living on a student campus, so everyone wears black puffy jackets, so I fit right in with the cool kids.
Hey, did they talk as loud in Spain in Spanish as they do when they're over here? Because they all just shout into each other's faces here like they're all hard of
Oh
hearing.
yeah. I haven't noticed it too much around like the campus now, to be honest. But like on the bus to that away trip in Madrid there a couple of weeks ago, my God, they were roaring at each other. Yeah. Like the same way that that just like they do, energetic and loud, and in a good way, not in a bad way, but in a why did I sit down the back way?
Because
You know.
because you see the Brazilian lads, they're the same in the local town here. They're having the crack. So it's not coming, there's no badness in it, but they just seem to be screaming into each other's faces from only a meter
Yeah,
away.
it's a different thing culturally, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So sun's out, but the jackets are on. And do you know what though? La Coruña is very stylish
Ooh.
town because Inditex, which is the company that owns Zara, Pull and Bear, Stradivarius, loads of shops, loads of clothing shops, was like founded here in La
Oh.
Coruña, and all these people work here, so it's very stylish, very stylish city. So
Have you found yourself having to kind of pull up your socks a small bit and no more of this scraggy, I'll carry on like? I'm not saying you're scraggy, but
no,
I would not fit in there is what I'm saying.
you know what? I feel like I can dress with a bit more freedom. Like I can wear like stuff that I would want to wear at home. I generally don't because at home in Ireland, you can't get away with anything. Like
No.
people give you nicknames
Yeah.
if you wore something a bit obscure. So I feel like, did you ever see that tweet? It's like wearing a beret in London, nobody says anything. Wearing a beret in Dublin, someone sticks their head out the window and says, Bonjour. That's how it is at home. But here people wear berets, they wear clogs. You can match and mix colors, kind of like I used to do when I was in secondary school and stuff. So I feel like yeah, it's cool. It's a really nice city, and like seeing it now with the sunshine out and like going for coffees and stuff, and like going for coffee at home is like a punishment because it's so expensive, but here it's like 120 for a coffee, so you can have
Sorry,
two.
do you take check? Do you take check? Because that's €17 for a coffee.
Literally.
Were you playing at the weekend?
No, we don't have a match till next month,
Oh,
so
grand.
yeah, so good bit of time off, but I've been like coaching the young kids and like the teenagers, like we were chatting about last week. But honestly, if anyone's What happened there?
I don't know. You shut off. Don't worry. I'll find it. For some reason, you just went away. I think the FBI are listening to us, and right now they weren't happy. They were like, "Hold on, is she about to start slagging off Spanish kids bad at rugby?"
No, what I was going to say was if anyone's like kind of feeling a bit down or like not sure what to do themselves or like looking for a new network or sorry, I thought I went away there again. Looking for a new way to like express themselves or
Mm.
be happy, go down and coach some kids. I know it's a head wrecker, but they'd actually put you in a good mood in some weird kind of way, like herding cats. They give you some laugh and like they actually. So this is the sign for anyone who was like, I don't know what to do with myself, or oh, I should go down and help there now, especially during Six Nations, because there's no point you sitting on the couch being like, he's shit when you're not like sharing your own expertise with with your community because you know so much.
I like the idea of that, because if you're gonna sit there, piss, moan, and complain, like it's like that old phrase: you don't whinge about the town you live in if you've never done anything to help it. So what are you doing? Sitting there scratching
That's
your
it.
hole, cribbing
I
at the
literally,
telly.
I literally just tweeted that there now, like literally just 2 minutes ago, because I honestly now, we're going to talk about the rugby in a second, but my God, the bickering and the grumbling and like, can people just be happy?
No,
Like,
no, they can't. No, they can't.
yeah,
Why would you allow people to be happy? Because heaven
no.
forbid, I was saying we get into the
We'll
rugby in a
get
minute.
into it.
We'll get into it.
We'll get into it.
Yeah, are you missing? We are recording on. It's Monday night. We're recording, aka St. Bridget's Day. Are
Oh
you?
yeah.
Yeah. Today is a new bank holiday. A lot of our listeners will be absolutely delighted with St. Bridget, making crosses up and down the country,
I
revisiting their
know.
faith, perhaps, because if it'll give you a day off, you'll make as many crosses as you have to make out of our rushes.
I'd say people weren't at the crosses. I know you were at them. I saw it on your Instagram. Were you
I
making?
I literally saw. No, I should for the crack,
You
because
picked up a few blades of grass and you were like, "Hey, we're all going to heaven,
yeah,
lads." Way.
way fair play to St. Bridget. God bless her. She's a legend. I saw, no, there was actually rushes just under the fence right outside the office. I went, I'll grab a fist of them and take a picture, because somebody has to tip the cap to St. Bridget. She's after giving everybody a day off. It's great.
Yeah,
It hasn't
yeah,
happened before. And by all accounts, she was a great woman. By all accounts, she was a
yeah,
great bit of stuff. So
yeah.
fair play to
Isn't
it.
it great to have that new
Oh, it's tremendous.
a new bank holiday? That's
Yeah.
great news.
Put in.
I had nothing to do today, so if I'd realised it earlier in the day, I would have got out and picked a few blades of grass to
Imagine
make a cross.
walking around like Arunya going, is there any bad land around here? Any wet marshy land where I can find a few old
There
rushes,
definitely
lads?
would be. Sure, this is like the same kind of land at home. Sure, they get so much rain here.
My weekend consisted of Saturday night after the game. I was in Waterford. I had a gig. It was rough as bejesus, because the room was lovely, albeit there was about 250 people there, and two hen knights decided to sit up front.
Oh,
Oh,
stop.
Jesus Christ. And manners they were giving everybody grief that had been on.
Did,
And oh,
did they put you to the test?
they did, but in a shit way. You're like, come out with something funny. Like, instead, like, to be fair, all in all, it was kind of one group were all right. They were holding it together. And then the other group were trying to hold this one woman who was the dose. There's you see gangs of hen nights when they come to gigs. There'll be one come that nobody wants on the fucking WhatsApp group. Do you know what I mean? But she shows up anyway. And now she's part of the situation, and nobody's mean enough to tell her, listen, you're a dose, and don't be a dose tonight. Like, there's one, like, she was trying to grab my junk because I was getting on stage and stuff. I'm like, oh, yeah,
No, that's illegal.
yeah, she almost got lit up. I almost lit her up, but I didn't. I was like, sidestep that scenario. I was sober, so I saw it kind of half coming, but she was like, but I ended up putting manners on him. And I kind of
Good.
told her some home truths that I'll tell you the truth. I can see the body language from here. None of these people are actually your friend. You need to get a grip on your life. Yeah, I
No.
had to. But I did it in a funny
No.
way, Anna. I did it in a funny way so that I understood my role was still to make the rest of the room laugh, and they enjoyed it no end because she was giving
True.
everybody a pin in their hole.
Tough
Everybody.
love.
But there
Tough
was
love.
that. But
Like Dick of the Day. She was the Dick
oh,
of the Day.
do you know what? I Dick of the Day is kind of there's a bit of a warm hug in Dick of the Day. This was just an out and out prick. This is just an out and out prick.
Wanker of the week.
Wanker.
Yeah, because you emailed me earlier saying, "Oh, who's going to be your Dick of the week?" Well, I'm like, well, that makes no sense. It has to be Dick of the Day. But if you want to use week, you can use Wanker of the week, which is
Oh, fine. She's Wanker of the week for sure. Jesus, yeah.
Jesus, that's desperate. Sorry you
It's
had to go through that.
it never. You weren't there, prompting her on. God, go on, say something. No,
No, I have an alibi. I went to Deportivo La Coruña match.
did you?
I did.
What?
In a box, in a VIP, as they call it.
What? Oh, you were in a VIP box.
A VIP.
Oh,
A VIP,
yeah, sure. You're big news around the town, sure, of course, yeah.
Exactly. The red carpet out on. No, it's just someone actually came through coaching. So another, one of the bonuses that the people you meet when you're down coaching, but he has works in a business and they have a box there. So yeah, went on Saturday night. I watched the second half of the England-Scotland game on my phone though, which is the only downfall, but totally worth it because Deportivo won. They got a penalty in the 92nd minute. But it was cool. It was really cool. I'm a huge fan now.
Are they as wild? Like, what's the audience
Yeah,
vibe like? There's nobody with hip flasks and prawn sandwiches, I'm guessing. Like,
no, but like you've all the like singers and they all sing. Well, the lad that brought me, he's from Argentina, and he told me he's like all the songs they're singing are Argentinian football fan songs, but they were the whole 90 minutes at it like bouncing up and down, massive flags for the whole thing, like about a couple of thousand of them down one end, and then they shout one thing and then the other end responds, and like yeah, it's the highest attended, like they're the biggest supported team in, it's Division 3, Spanish Division 3, but like fabulous stadium. It was cool, like I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I'm a super fan now.
class. I did,
Yeah.
as you speak of children, and just kind of as segueing softly into our rugby, I watched the Ireland match with my 3-year-old, and
Right.
it was it was going great for about the first 3 minutes, but he's a 3-year-old. He's watching, going, fuck this. But he doesn't actually want to head out. He wants to mimic what he's seeing as best he can on the screen on me.
Right.
So I more or less had to rewatch the match. Yeah, it's
Oh, yeah.
because I called over to the folks' place with him, and he was like, "This would be great." And the mother is asking, going, "Why did he do that now?" Because you're like, "Oh no!" And then all of a sudden, I'm
Oh, yeah.
getting high tackled HIA off of 3-year-old. So yeah, I had to watch the match for a second time to actually
Yeah.
grasp the
Yeah.
match.
Okay.
So
But at least I feel like that's probably useful anyway, especially if you're going to talk about it, because I feel like if I want to enjoy the match, I just sit and, take in the emotions of it. And then the result by the time you go to kind of actually think about things,
yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah. I suppose you can look at it from a completely different view because you know what way it's going to pan out. So the emotions are kind of out of it now, and especially given
Think
I had
about
to do this
things.
for the pod, it was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
I didn't really take that into account.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. I watched almost all of them a second time, actually. Well, I
yeah,
had to watch the England Scotland game again. But I'll tell you something funny about the clubhouse when I was there.
yes,
So, well, I won't get into too much, but I do think I should talk about this another time, especially just something that I noticed, like, they were saying to me, like, oh, we're showing all the Six Nations matches in the clubhouse in Crat, which is my team, and they have a cool little clubhouse in the middle of the town, and like loads of people there. But like all it is for for people in Spain, they have to choose a country that they like. They have no real connection.
Ah, yeah.
They kind of don't really care. So there was loads of people like talking to me during the match, and like loads of they were all chatting away, and I was like, "Go on!" And they'd all be like and it was I just do you know what made me think was just like how lucky we are to be a Six Nations country.
Yeah. Yeah. This
That's
is
how
it.
I feel. That's how I felt that day, because they all it is for them is because they were all like, "Oh, Six Nations," but all they are doing is getting together to chat amongst themselves and put it on in the background. That's no, so a lot of them were watching it and they were all kind of like, "Well, hey," but like they just kind of, you know, don't really care, I suppose, unless you kind of been invested for a very long time, maybe. But even at that, you're just kind of going for good rugby. But it just made me think about like, wow, the how lucky we are to be a Six Nations country. That's
I,
how that
I
was my
couldn't.
takeaway from it.
It is, and we're now utterly dominated by it. Like, and I know it goes against a lot of people are like, but it has brought people in that are only fair with their fans, like, because success breeds interest. I'm still flabbergasted, and I mean, it's a testament to the sport itself, but that soccer is still so popular here. It's
Yeah,
like Ireland has won nothing ever at soccer, so or even come close to
yeah,
winning anything at
yeah.
soccer.
It's
It's a big
true,
achievement to make the World Cup. It's a big
but
achievement.
our generation still very much remembers the feeling of like when you're a kid and like Paul McGrath, Packy Bonner, those players, and even Robbie Keane, Roy Keane, and like the feeling you got from that when you were younger. My God, I'd love to feel it again.
Yeah.
So
Oh
that's
God,
why
yeah.
I've never given up on the Irish soccer team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bring back Packy Bonner.
It's kind of holding out for the girlfriend or boyfriend that's never coming back. Really, is it just like, oh, but Jesus Christ, I remember the good times? Like, these are good times. Like, yeah, it was 40 years
Miserable,
ago. It's like, yeah, Jesus
miserable.
Christ.
I know.
Anyway, I suppose now we know where we watch the matches. We are going to have little awards throughout this and little segments dropped in throughout this. As we said last week, we were going to do it. So just to keep things on our toes so that we can pick out spots and bits that maybe you didn't see. And you can contribute what you think afterwards based on our decisions on players and moments throughout the game. And let us know what you think. But Ireland, Wales 34-10. I mean, if you were to read any of the Wales journalists, and we're the All Blacks now, essentially. They're a team in transition. So, I
I
mean,
know. Sure,
but
we knew that, didn't we? We said it
yeah,
last week.
but you literally said too, though. Like you said distinctly what was going to happen. You said it. He goes, Tom, sometimes when you have your foot to the floor and you're absolutely whooping ass, it's hard to stay in the pocket because
100%. And I was thinking this, and I enjoyed the first 20 minutes were like, oh my God, they were
oh
so good. And like, do you know what I love now is like when you get into the 5 meter, you don't automatically necessarily without thinking of any other option, like in front of the post, you do a quick tap or a tap like a penalty move. Like, oh my God, I was loving that. But like I looked at the clock at like 16 minutes and they were like up in their faces, go, 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 like bang, bang, kick chase. Like you can't. I know everyone always wants to like have a good start to a match, like, and not ease into something, and like good start to a tournament. But my God, that was unsustainable. Like the
oh yeah.
pressure that they were putting on, there was no way that they could have like held that out. So the fact that like because I read it, a few journalists and a few people were saying like, oh, we let them back into it, but like, yeah, but at that stage we had established our lead. Like, of course they're going to come back into it, which is what we were talking about last week. Is you kind of have to take the foot off the gas because it's not sustainable. There's only certain number of subs in the bench. You can't empty the tank like fully. it's not going to work. You can't keep adding those scores the whole way throughout the first half and then continue to do it in the second half. Like, but I thought, you know what I just loved was how when Wales were starting to come back into it, like after about 20 minutes, and then just the few moments that Ireland were able to just like, the intercept and like the turnovers, like that was brilliant because they're pushed like right to the end at that stage. Like there's no point. It's no test of anything if it's an easy game, or if it's like if you don't let Wales into it and they don't test you in different parts. So I actually thought that like they stretched us enough, like that tackle from Gary Ringrose
Oh
to
my
stop
God.
them scoring in the corner.
How did
I was
he
loving it.
stretch his body? Like
Don't know.
it looked like he was burnt, and then all of a sudden he was 7'4". He was
I
back
know.
up again to actually, and the strength in his fingers alone to scrag him to the ground like a lion. He pulled him to the ground like a lion would an antelope. It was just
Yes,
Jesus. I'd say your man. I thought I'm away, and then
I'm away.
oh no,
Yeah.
I'm not.
Bang.
I'm not.
Oh, I
Bang! I'm on
hate
the
that.
ground again.
I hate that feeling.
Jesus.
um, I thought it was brilliant, but it's like you, yeah. So we need to relax a little bit, like and also it's Wales and it's
Yeah.
Cardiff, and we haven't won there in 10 years. We hadn't won a game in Six Nations in Wales in 10 years. That's massive. Like I had to read that. I read that during the week, and I was like, I should go back and read that again. I'm not sure that's correct.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't believe it. So like the fact that we're a bit like, oh, should we be concerned? Now I didn't hear any of this on the day because first of all Spanish people were talking. Second of all, it was in Spanish, so I was kind of only, they don't talk about it in the same way that the Irish pundits would. Like, they were just saying like, oh,
Oh,
Ireland are great and da da
you
da. So
you missed paint drying. I'll put it to you this way: I switched over and had to watch BBC because you're looking at Robbie Kearney. He's just, you're like, Rob, you're just gorgeous, but keep moving. My God. And then you Shane Horgan, which is fair enough. And then you've that absolute dose, Mitty Williams, and he's just sitting like couch Farrell. He would, heaven forbid, he'd call a man by his first name. He calls them all like the coach, Couch Farrell, like it's college football he's talking. And then the
yeah,
absolute bollocks turns around and goes, I don't know what Munster must have done to
hates
him back.
Munster, yeah.
He nothing. It's like ash in his mouth. He has nothing he can do. He's like, yeah, I'll be worried. I'll be bloody worried if I was Peter O'Mahony. And you're like, from what? His perfect lineouts. What are
Yeah,
you talking about? He was absolutely scragging people around the rucks, pinning people in and causing penalties. Like
absolutely.
he
Because I
pinned.
read that someone tweeted that saying like
Oh, it
Peter
was me.
O'Mahony needs
It
to be
was.
dropped.
Yeah, it was me.
Oh,
Oh,
maybe
sorry.
it
I
was.
tweeted Williams' thing saying that, going, "This man's an
Oh,
absolute dose." Like,
no, no, no. I Before I saw what you had tweeted, I read from someone else that Peter Manny needs to be dropped. He's at nothing or blah blah blah. And I was like, where did where did he pull that out of? It was obviously because he's listening to Matt Williams.
yeah, yeah. And that's
So
Williams just couldn't let it. And you're like, what are you talking about? He was imperious in the air, like just immaculate. And the
yeah,
cuteness that you will never get out of a 25-year-old, the cuteness to pin
yeah,
lads in on the ruck with just an old knee or
brilliant.
something like that. Like
Yeah.
he caught Will, or what's his name? They call him the sheriff front row. What's his name? He was the captain for today.
Owens, Ken Owens.
Ken Owens pinned him in, and it was just so sneaky. And he was looking back like, look, I'm off him. And he just had a knee in his back, and Owens kind of looked at him going, you bollocks, you caught me. And it was a penalty on, and at the time, Wales were battering the door down. And it was like, oh, Jesus
Yeah,
Christ, he's so
but
crafty.
little things like that.
Yeah.
Like surely Matt Williams should spot or would be aware of, or but there was another tweet, someone saying like, can you please like diversify your panel a small bit, and because these guys are just like dying over all the Leinster lads and hate all the Munster lads, and I was just like, oh god, here we go. This is it, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is Six Nations.
Well, that's it. And that's what we've gotten down to, is that you're rooting through the rubbish now to try and find something wrong with that. And that's all that we're doing, was like, I'd be worried. You're like, they haven't played together since November. All the teams are going to get consistently better, as they spend
Yeah,
another week together. It's going to, like their fitness can't be questioned, but like when you're rattling Wales at home like that,
Yeah,
as you said,
yeah, yeah.
you can't do one of the mind blowing things. I had to check my TV was right, because how is James Lowe be fat? How is he fast slow? How is he fast slow? The man doesn't look like he's covering the ground like he is, but yet he's
Yeah,
on that
he.
intercept. He
I
absolutely
know. Yeah,
ripped
I
up the
agree
field,
with
but he
that.
didn't look
It's so
fast. How?
weird.
What is it?
I don't
Like,
know. There's players like that, isn't there?
yeah,
That
Simon
like
Zebo covers serious ground, but he never looks like he's traveling fast, whatever the hell it
this.
is.
Yeah, I've played with a few players like that as well, and you're like, oh my god, will you do something? But then they're like off up the wing on the road, and you're like, oh god, how did they do that? Yeah, so I agree with that. James Lowe is one of those players that looks like it's kind of looks like he's sinking, or is it because he's big legs,
Yeah,
or
I
I
think
don't
that's
know.
it. They were saying he's big legs and kind of a big ass or whatever. Like that, it kind of doesn't look, because you put Hugo Keenan alongside him, probably doing the same pace, and his legs just look like a beautiful gazelle,
Yeah,
trotting down the side of the wing. Like, but
he was great as well, wasn't he?
oh,
Hugo Keenan.
I tell you, he's a hardy bit of stuff too. Like now this is coming from somebody watching him on telly. He's no doubt a big man anyway, but alongside everybody else, he looks quite light, but
He does
fearless.
look light, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Fearless, and he has everything he needs to have. Like, and he will not be dropped. Like, given performances like that.
yeah,
Who was your
yeah.
standout player? Like, they gave it to Keenan on the day. Who's your standout player? Do you think I'm assuming it's from an
Mm,
Irish point of view. Who were you? I mean, you're a back row. You're probably looking at the back row because you love milling people, like, and stuff like that. But
yeah, like Caelan Doris is
oh my
so
god,
great, and Van der Fleer, like just the depth he was coming on from with those carries, and just like head down, bang, pure simple stuff. Like the two of them actually are so brilliant.
what is Caelan Doris made of? He must be
So
impossible. Like,
young.
he's like you look at Gavin Coombs is probably heavier and bigger, but he doesn't seem to hurt people. Like, he runs with such ferocity that lads
Yeah,
bounce off him in pain. Like trying to catch a
yeah.
gate or something being thrown at you. Like, it's like, ow.
I love it.
I
I love
love
it.
to
It was
see it.
so good. I loved the game. I actually loved it. Someone was one of the girls is like, I was sitting there with my beer. I'm turning Galician here now. This is I'm having
Oh, Galicia,
I've no tea,
Estrella.
so I'm drinking a Estrella Galicia.
Estrella.
Um,
To Irish people, that's Estrella. Estrella,
Estrella,
just stuff you find on holidays. Yeah, yeah,
Estrella.
Estrella.
Well, it's an Estrella Mini. It was only €6. No, it was only €3 for six of them in the supermarket.
Ah, for
Um,
f-
Anyway, as for that, I was drinking one of these watching the match, and I literally was just sitting there smiling. And someone was like, "Are you happy there?" Like, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm so happy. Like, I'm loving this." Even like, I kind of wanted Wales to score at one stage,
Oh yeah.
because you don't, like I said already, yeah, you don't want it to whitewash. And like, do you know what it made me think of when I was kind of looking back over the conversations? And like, I go to Twitter and like the comment sections of like balls.ie and various things like that, and like just to get a feeling of what people are saying and whatever. But like, people kind of worried and concerned that this is a concern for Ireland, that they let like Wales back into it or whatever. And I already made the point that you need to be stretched till the end. But like, the one thing it made me think of was like, did you see the Women's World Cup final?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, England had won 30 games in a row, and they had never spent so much time in their 22. No team had pushed them at all
There you
in
go.
any way in those 30 games. They obviously worked very hard, but like, they were never really put to the sword. And when it came down to it, in the game, they should have won the World Cup.
Yep.
And when it came down to those last few minutes, they hadn't felt that way. They hadn't been pushed to their limits. They hadn't felt that way in so long. They didn't know how to neither management nor the players. And they mismanaged the most important game of all. So, like, I feel like we're in for I said it last week as well, didn't I? That we've like got this like inferiority complex, that
Oh
like,
yeah.
because we're world number one now, we're like, oh, we can't be making those mistakes. Relax.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved it. I thought it was brilliant to come away with the win and to kind of like be like pushed back again. Like let it happen. Like France next week now. I know we'll talk about it a bit later, but I actually think I loved it. Thought it was brilliant start. Brilliant start to the Six Nations for Ireland.
I second that. And also, if I'll just put in another dimension, if I had a daughter of dating ages, I would definitely let her date Gary Ringrose. I mean, he's just, there's something, that guy would be just awesome. I bet he makes an unreal cup of tea. Do you know what I mean? He's gone from strength to strength. I think the captaincy in Leinster's probably done him, and everything he does just seems to be on the ball. Like he's on it so much. His defensive play, and he just spreads out and like we said, that last ditch tackle, you're going, how are you pulling that off? Like,
yeah, but I feel like do you know, we're just chatting about like Van der Fleer and Caelan Darce there, and even like Hugo Keenan, and you don't see much else from them on the pitch. They're literally doing their job, and that's it. Like
yeah,
there's never any chat back. There's never any like, you know, winding other people up. Like they're literally just there to play rugby, head down. Like, and Gary Ringrose is one of them. Like just up, in, out, up again, go up.
yeah.
There he is. Brilliant. I love it.
I want to give also Amanda, we're all writing off, because if you know anything about rugby, the stats told it all. Amanda, we're all writing off a fellow who has to. I won't say the journalist's name, but he actually wrote an article during the week saying Conor Murray needs to prove himself. You're like, at 101 caps, last time starting Lion scrum half. I don't think he has to prove anything. And watch what he does next. His ruck speed, 70% of his ruck speed. Now they were going, oh well, he's got an armchair right. And you're like, regardless, he was in there fast enough. His ruck speed was 70% were under 3 seconds. No, the boss needs nothing else off you. Under 3 seconds. And on top of that, he hit rucks and hit tackles that's only that you'd see flankers hitting. That there's no other scrum half in Ireland could hit, because he's got the weight and size. Do you know? So honourable mention for his naysayers.
I also read as well, in another kind of naysayer term, was like, oh, he started to tire. No shit, Sherlock.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Everybody did. Like, you telling me Andrew Porter, like, nobody had a problem with it. Like, Andrew Porter goes in for that tackle, gets, behind the line. Now, they would say, arguably it was a penalty as well as a try. But that was pure tiredness. That was pure fatigue and stupidity out of him, because he pulled off a try-saving tackle by getting under the ball against Ken Owens. He was about 3 seconds too late going into Liam Williams. And he was absolutely shattered. He was like, as you said, as somebody who has played the game at the highest level, you are absolutely blown. No matter how fit you are blown diesel smoke out of every orifice. With the pace you said.
Yeah, and as well, like they obviously they must have had this game plan to like chase hard on the kicks.
Yeah.
Because even like Liam Williams is pure like sauntering back, because I think like fullbacks and whoever is back to kind of collect any kicks, they've got loads of time now, because nobody can put that pressure on, because if you bust your hole to get that far, you have to bust your hole the whole way back. So actually what you've got, kind of what it's evolved into, is a load of like passive players around the middle. And it kind of gives people like loads of time. But Ireland were just like bang, like straight up in their face. There was obviously their game plan from like day one, or from minute one, which then led to like fatigue. But do you know what? I almost gave Andrew Porter Dick of the Day for for going in 3 seconds late. Like, landed down on your man's head. But then the tip tackle he did when he was on his knee, I was waiting for some sighting news after that.
Yeah, I definitely thought something was coming from that. I was like, oh, dude. Oh, no. Oh, no. Yeah. Like, if they had a word with him, you'd be getting him off, going, get off, because one more blink of your eyes at this guy and he's going to but he didn't. Whatever I'm guessing the officers, the TMO was looking at it, but it seemed like a bit like the audience, like the crowd would have, if you were to follow them, because they're all, of course, all over it. Like, but yeah,
Yeah,
that
of
was
course
a.
they are.
But
The
again,
other,
as you say,
while yeah,
playing on the edge, like you said, you know what I mean. You can't. You're not going to tell Andrew Porter wind it in. You're not, like, you're going to go, all right,
yeah.
just try not to do it again, but at the same time, fucking keep going. You know,
He has great hair as well. So
class hair.
I
He is
love his
the
hair.
illustrated man of Irish rugby. He has more tattoos than the lot of them collected together.
He looks great. Yeah, he's like a Viking.
He looks great. He does. He looks great. And
Yeah.
he's got a menacing look. And he doesn't mouth off, which tends to kind of, I think, make a fella a bit more frail. Like, we both love Joe Marler. He's hilarious and stuff. But the mouthing off kind of takes away from the coolness of small. But it's like, oh, you'd be way more
Yeah.
menacing if you kept your mouth shut. Like, but,
Yeah.
you know,
Actually, yeah.
yeah.
No, actually, no, I'll talk about that now in a minute. But I actually, while I'm on Dick of the Day, and we spoke last week about Dick of the Day. Dick of the Day is very affectionate way of
Mm.
reaching out to your teammate and be like, look, we all make mistakes and we still love you and we still want you on our team. So I didn't give it to Andrew Porter, even though he was a good contender for it. I actually think I'm going to split Dick of the Day between Liam Williams and Johnny Sexton, even though Liam Williams got a bit more of it because he ended up getting the yellow card, because it was actually quite funny what happened. Like, when Ian Henderson like went to block the kick, which I thought was fine as well. Like, there's no way he could have readjusted himself in the air or changed his angle. Gave away the penalty, that was grand. And Liam Williams hands up, flying up, like, like a British shot. But like, it was so funny when you watch it back. Like, his hands go flying up in the air, and then he grabs his pec, and then he was like shaking it, like do you remember when you're in school and like you'd pretend to be injured and like you'd shake, and you'd know yourself that no one's buying it. You know yourself that no one's buying it. You could see in his face that no one was buying it. It was actually embarrassing watching it back. I actually
But he had to follow through.
He
had to follow through with something like.
He had to, because he went down like a sack of spuds. You're better off letting the physio kind of come over to you and just kind of chat to them for a while and be like, look, I kind of fucked up there. Just give me a second as if I'm winded or something. Whereas if you know there's a previous problem with my pec or something. But then, like, he got the yellow card, and like, I thought Johnny Sexton did the exact same thing. Johnny Sexton's like,
shot like a cow shot in a slaughterhouse yard. He went down like.
But he did, and he like pulled. I thought it was.
Did you see the Welsh camera work?
Williams ended up
after
when
that.
he did the wink, and the whole crowd was like, boo!
The villain, the panto
villain.
I
actually enjoyed it so much, even though I hate when people dive and fake it and stuff, but I actually just thought it was so funny because it was like karma for Liam Williams and like Johnny Sexton like joining in, and then because of the wink, everyone hates him especially in Wales, they hate him even more now. Because when it showed the wink and they were like, they all started booing, like, just because of the wink. But like, I wink at people on the pitch all the time.
That wink could have been from 10 minutes previous. Nobody knows. That could have been it could have been from another match. Do you know what I mean? Like that.
I wonder, did he know? Anyway, Liam Williams, he had a great game and he got yellow card in the end, the poor old fella. So he is my Dick of the Day.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Dick of the Day done. And that wraps up Ireland versus Wales. We'll talk about who they played at the weekend at the end of the show. This, moving on to the next, Italy, France. Now, this filled the cockles of my heart with excitement. This is what the Six Nations, this is what's been, do you know what? This is, if you were trying so hard for so long to talk about Italy listen, they're a common team, they're maybe, and then it was getting to a tipping point where they're like, these lads have to go. We need Georgia in or Portugal or a playoff system to get in, because Italy are a waste of time. We've given them everything. This is like the student that's like 34 still in college, and the wealthy parents are going, oh, for fuck's sake, we've enough of this. This is the Van Wilder. basically
Walter, yeah.
they have been partying their whole off for the last dozen years or so.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, they were talking about the purse strings being cut and they'd have to go back into division. Who's your father playing in behind ditches somewhere across
Playing in
Europe?
Spain and Netherlands played on Sunday. And
some
couldn't even see their numbers on their jerseys afterwards.
some Maria Cup. But by God, they came out they looked class. They really did look class. And I mean, it's not to say, you could say, oh, I think, well, France is just their first trot out in a while. They still had Entomac. They still had Dupont. They still had these raft of amazing names, that the sort of names that kids would be happy to have on the back of a jersey in any country. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got very, very, I was disappointed for him to lose in the end, but at the same time, I mean, to lose to France and the way they lost, oh my God, it's going to only spell good things, like.
Yeah, I hope so. You never know. It's such a weird dynamic, I think, with those two teams, actually. You never know, like, both of them kind of respond in very weird ways to wins and losses. You might have Italy like win a game, or they might be growing, and then they turn up one week like playing like a bag of shite, and then France, like, we'll see now. I actually, first of all, when I sat down to watch like Italy France, and it opens up, and it's the Sunday, so it's the day after the night before, and like the sun was shining and all the flags were out, and the anthem's just the perfect way to spend a Sunday. I had to go back to the rugby club, like, because I've nowhere else to watch it. But there's fewer people around, so like it was kind of a bit more focused on the actual game. So that was nice. But like it was just such a perfect way to spend a Sunday. It was the perfect match for the Sunday, like to
Oh God,
tie up the whole weekend. And yeah, like I well, the one thing that struck me was like I was thinking about France, and Jerome Garces has came on board with them last year. If I knew it at the time, I'd forgotten it in the meantime, because when I spotted him in the box, I was like, who's that guy again? I was like, oh, that's the referee.
Yeah,
that's the old
yeah.
French referee. And then obviously after the game, like, Sean Edwards was talking about how many penalties they conceded, and that they were like extremely unhappy with that. Which, to be fair, again, like France turning up to Six Nations, like, against Italy, they're probably like, into Rome.
Oh, smoking fags and eating baguettes beforehand. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, when you think about now those penalties and how unhappy the coaches are with them, and the fact that they've Jerome Garces in there, what an amazing appointment for a coaching staff. I'd kind of forgotten that he was working with them, and now I'm scared. Now I'm scared for next week. But I still love watching them play, France and Italy.
It doesn't hurt. I also, one thing I noticed for the first time in a long time with Italy was an awful lot of surnames finishing with vowels, i.e. a hell of a lot of them were actually Italian. Do you know what I mean? There was a long time there where you'd lads in from every old place, like roped in, throw them on for Italy. There, there was a Irish lad even giving it, playing at one stage with one eye. Do you know? Like, so, but it was great to see it. And they've great names. Like, there was
They're all gone to Scotland.
Yeah, well, that's
Oh.
well, when you look at the imports, when you look at the list of imports,
I'm only joking.
There's quite a lot of them in Scotland. All right, in all fairness, there's a lot of strange accents that aren't exactly Scottish. That and there's genetics in people on the Scottish team. But we'll get to it in a minute.
Seb Negri, do you know Seb Negri, the back row? He's South African.
Oh, is he?
Yes.
Right.
But he has some kind of Italian heritage, obviously. So the name fits the bill anyway.
It does. The names lend themselves brilliantly to, I think, dramatic commentators when they score a try.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? Like, there was one. It was is your man Capuzzo? Is it Capuzzo? It was amazing. Like when you
Yeah,
have a long vowel at the end of a name, like it's brilliant. Like
true,
it's real soccer stuff, isn't it? And it was a banger of
true.
a try. He dived in the corner, got there.
Oh,
It was a cracker of a try.
sure. We spoke about him last week. Of like we were saying how excited we were to watch him play, and like he certainly lived up to it. You know, it's so unreal to see. What I think about him is he's so young, and he probably has no previous like bodily memory of being a rugby player in
No,
Italy where you just get fucking spanked all the time. So he's like one of their like leaders. He like brings them to a next level. Now I say this as if this is happening week in, week out. He obviously did it towards the end of the tournament last year, and he did it at the weekend. I would hope to see him like in that role for Italy for the next however many years, because he just like he's so brilliant. Like that try, and like it just put them on another level, and just the things he was able to do, and the bites he takes, because he's got no fear. He's not like
that's it. He
conditioned.
there was no rushing that, even though it looked like a very quick try, there was no rushing the point of contact with the ground either. He gave a little check just to throw a bit of, I suppose, a bit of shade on what he was about to do next. Like a guy who just got the ball would just pin the ears back and get driven into touch. He just gave a
Yeah,
check for a split second, which just opened the gap into the corner. Like,
yeah,
oh man, you don't care. You don't care who's coming at you. This is your try, and you love to see that. Like as you said, fearless.
yeah, yeah.
And,
But
and, and
that's the importance of having young people in as well. Like they bring a level of like, well, why wouldn't we do something like that?
yeah,
What?
yeah, I love
Why?
to see that. Why wouldn't we?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love to see that. There
yeah.
was God though. I mean, at the same time, when you look then through it, like we're all looking for Dupont and whatnot, but Entomac, like he, not only does
Oh,
he, I mean, his father was a legend of the game, and then he lands up like that man. If you quit rugby right now, Yves Saint Laurent would hire him. Like the guy's ridiculous. He's walking around looking trendy. He could actually play a game with a fag out of the corner of his mouth, like just a
yeah, yeah, yeah,
mental.
yeah.
You know what I mean? He's
He
just
probably has
seems
one in his pocket. He's
for
just like,
sure he does. It's like, yeah,
mm,
he's having a little sip of wine at the halftime too. He just seems under no pressure, and that crossfield kick was so on the money.
oh,
Like there wasn't a time that there normally would be, when there's like a penalty advantage coming. It's like, yeah, I'll just stand back 20 yards, whack it, and hope for the
yeah,
best. He
yeah, yeah,
put
yeah,
that
yeah.
on a pin. You're like, oh
Mm,
Jesus, that was one of the tidiest crossfield kicks I've seen in a long time. Like,
yeah, it was so good.
and it helps,
Mm-hmm.
that he looks class on top of that too. Like,
Yeah,
um,
that helped.
then you've names to a lot of their names like him. Intimac just stands out. Then Jelly Bear. I know he's Jelly Bear, but I can't stop saying Jelly Baby. I cannot.
Jelly baby. I call
It's
him Jelly Bear.
yeah, well, Jelly Bear. Well, I think of the gummy bears, Jelly Bear or Jelly Baby. Like I just can't. You're looking at him going, my good lord. Like it was. But I tell you one thing, it meant a lot to France when they won that match, because normally
Mm,
French would be, as you said, yeah, it's just another win. They were on the ropes. If they were
yeah,
delighted, you see them all jumping on the sideline like they just beat the All Blacks.
yeah.
Like they were like, "Ooh,
Well, I was reading. Do you know what, Tom? I feel like we've turned into nerds that we
yeah, I
said we
know,
wouldn't.
I know, I
We've
know, I
gone a
know,
bit
I know, I
nerdy.
know, I know."
But but I was reading like your man Gautier 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 with the
Jean Paul of
glasses.
the clothing brand. Yes, I know him well. Yes,
Jean-Paul Gaultier. Well, like even like Fan Gaultier with the glasses, like the head
I
coach, even
I
the
know.
glasses. It's
Even
just
the
so
glasses, like
like
you're going.
I
If
I
you or I wore those glasses walking around at home, you'd not
you
only
could
would you get a
wear
nick.
them and not only would you get them.
No, you wouldn't get a nickname. Do you know what? Because they think they were some sort of orthopedic eyewear. Or for some reason, there was something wrong with your head that you had to wear them. You know what I mean? You were,
People start avoiding you.
yeah, just to avoid, because look, there's something off with that lad. Well, he's wearing them,
I know.
like having conversations with journalists. You're like, and nobody's Nobody's asking about the eyewear.
They're
Why
his
not?
glasses. I've been picturing him like sitting at home with his family wearing the goggles.
At dinner. Can you imagine
No.
it? Take off.
Yeah, I think
Imagine the white.
so.
Take off the
I
fucking
think they're
goggles, will you? For Jesus' sake.
but
Not
I
a.
think they're his glasses.
Oh, they are.
But
Yeah.
you could wear those in La Coruña. But what he said was that thought I wrote it down. I didn't. What he said was they're not gonna take for granted their own position, and they're not going to like think that they deserve to be at the top. So they'll take an away win essentially, which I thought was kind of a nice thing to hear, instead of like coming down hard on the players, kind of like Sean Edwards did. That was like 18 penalties, like but
Fucking smash him. Fucking smash. Can you imagine him speaking French in that accent, in his Wigan accent, like?
yeah.
Can you imagine him shouting across the fucking 2 punts, you bastard. Fucking tackle him. Because he's just the hardest man that ever lived. Shoot away, you bastard.
Have you ever heard Ron McGarry speaking French?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful with a Cork accent. It's absolutely beautiful, because even his accent is his own accent. I don't know if there's another Cork accent like that. It's his own accent.
Yeah, that's true as well. But we almost gave dig of the day to your man Olivon as well, who he dropped the ball over the line.
I know. But it was nearly too obvious.
Played really well.
It was nearly too obvious. But you
know why I didn't is because there wasn't enough of a build-up. I should have given a dig of the day to Italy, who were like fanning around with the ball, and their 5-meter line. I was like, stop! And then that's what happened. So he went and tried to put a hand on it. So like France hadn't built up to something to like earn that try anyway. So he kind of got off the hook a bit there. But all in all, France and Italy. Yeah, it was brilliant.
It's brilliant. It's everything you would want, because normally that was the dead rubber. That was the dead rubber. You play Italy, and it's like, all right, put out the young fellas. Let's see what they've got. There's no putting out the young fellas against them now. Not if you don't want it, because it's one thing to be run close, different thing to have your trousers pulled down by Italy. You know what I mean? You're going, oh Jesus. And win all your other games, and Italy are the one that be,
Yeah.
But they're a common team, and I suppose what does it pose for Ireland? Who knows? Interesting that the coach said that, because that is I would say interesting and ironic that he said that, because that is absolutely a French way of thinking. We don't take we don't take it for granted our position. That is absolutely a French thing. You do that the whole time. French club sides, they turn up and go, we're not playing today.
That's true.
They do. So it's ironic that he said that, but it'll probably sharpen their focus for coming to Ireland next weekend.
It's either media, words being put in his mouth, from his PR
yes,
being like,
yeah.
Or it's him actually changing their mentality, which they probably don't need to, or maybe it's the mentality that they kind of practiced last year to win them a Grand Slam. Because he said that. He was like, the last 2 years, that's what they've been doing the last few years, is like reflecting. So maybe that's a new way of thinking and approaching it, or else he's just talking absolute shite just to
he seems like a funny cat. All right. I saw an interview with, it was a group interview that I think was it Ugamania? I think it asked all the coaches, the head coaches, and you see who would you take, and they're all, they're going, oh, do you Andy Farrell comes to, oh, you got a tasty number 9 over there, I'll take him. And it gets to what's his name again, the French coach with
Fabien Gauthier.
It gets to him, and he's like, I would take Tag Furlong, and I would play him at number 10. And you're going, cool answer. Cool, because this guy can play on the wing, you can play
I love that,
It's a pure fuck off. Would you go in and stop asking me questions? But it is a funny one.
That was a nice interview, actually, to have, chatting to the coaches in that way and see a funny side to the coaches.
Yeah,
or
it was actually really, really good. It took the sting, the weird sting sometimes, like if you go back to Joe Schmidt and Warren Gatland, like how they just eyeball each other. Like, it's like, okay, not
yeah.
not not really knowing what is, are they actually friends behind closed door? That seemed like a very cool interview, but we won't, I suppose there's no more to be said really, other than an absolute brilliant game. Brilliant game. We can hope for more from Capuzzo. We want more from that man. I picked our segment that we picked, he'd be good for. And my man
Yes.
for good for was which scared the bejesus out of me, because I thought this is going to be a hard day at the office. It was Flemont, the second row, that block down. I've seen block downs, like everybody was shocked by that. The guy's arms, they seemed to disjoint or something. He seemed like an extra shoulder that went up to a certain point. It was like, what? In the name of Jesus? Like, nobody's given it, like 4 minutes in, you're like, nobody's given serious efforts at blocking down, to a degree, because it's a big owl. Like, you think he's going to be stepped, or, he has all his ducks in a row and he'll kick it, no problem. Gets the block down in and runs it in himself. But he'd be good for, I'm just going to put it normal. I need that man for light bulbs. I'm too short, and I could do with him around the house for light bulbs. If nothing else, Flamand, if you're ever caught injured or whatever, come on over to Ireland. We're mostly a short race of people. You will get painting, cleaning upstairs windows, whatever you want, man, with those arms on you.
If
It was ridiculous.
Going to come this far, you'd have to come up with a few jobs for him, like.
There's a rake of jobs for a man with arms that can reach literally he could. Yeah, I mean, there's no end to what he could do. Like, put him into work. He could work in B&Q without the trolley. He could just start putting shit up on the high shelves and never get to. He
could work in, Trinity College Library and not use the
yeah. He doesn't need the slidey ladder. He's just which book will you after? No problem. Just this giant scaffolding pole of an arm goes up and gets it. Yeah, he was like, I used 99 times out of 100, the block down never happens. But it was just, the ball was going nowhere but into this fella's arms. I just have never seen arms shoot up like it. Pause it, and it's like something out of SpongeBob. This guy just, Squidward's arms flying up in the air. So, Flemont. I mean, it's a great name. I mean, it's literally like the Human Torch from the Fantastic Four. It's like Flame On. It's like Flame On. I mean, if you lived here and your name was you'd be called Flamin' the whole time. Hey, Flamin'. It wouldn't have the same effect. Flamon. Which is what actually goes back to what you talked about last week. Sometimes you just have to use the accent a little bit. Just Flamon.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Flaming. All right. Beautiful. Moving. I'm going to slip in here. Actually, I did a brief little interview with the Munster captain, Ireland's number 6 for the weekend. It was Peter O'Mahony, and his views on Pete's pitch. Thanks very much, Pete. Hell of a guy. Interesting guy, really into his horticulture. Great. So yeah, the pitch. I didn't know that about. Did you know that the Welsh heads groundkeeper was actually called Lee Evans? He was I didn't realize he was the former very successful stand-up comedian either. Probably isn't. I'd say Pete was probably wrong there on that one, but I don't think I'd see Pete going to the Chelsea Flower Show before he'd go to a stand-up comedy gig. You know what I mean? I just wouldn't.
The Chelsea Shower Show.
Now that's a one. That's one. Just nothing but just electric showers, just all the way down. Just come and see the different designs of the Chelsea.
Would definitely go to that. The Chelsea Shower Show.
Now I moved around. I wanted to, I put it to you, and you were okay with it, but I wanted to move this one to the end, even though it was the second match of the weekend. But it was the absolute. There's highlight reels. There's lads could retire. One man in particular could retire after this, and his highlight reel would be shown for 100 years from this match. It was the England versus Scotland game. Again, almost you forget, because the muscle memory would tell you that, England have won a gazillion times and they're Scotland's whipping boy. And then you look at it, it's like, wait, of the last 6 meetings now, they've won 5 times. They've won the Calcutta Cup now for 3 years on the trot against England. And not by accident. They put him to the sword, didn't they?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah, well, I suppose, yeah, you're right. I felt a bit sorry for uh who's the new fella, the new coach.
Oh, Steve
Um,
Borthwick.
yeah, but you're like, again, and when we touched on it last week as well, like, what could you do?
Well, I
We
mean,
were probably all like, Borthwick out.
well, really, what Borthwick needs to be doing is going with the biggest checkbook in the world over to France and bringing back Sean Edwards. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? Like, because Kevin Sinfield, even though he does come
Oh
from
yeah,
the rugby league background, Jesus Christ, there was gaps. You drive a truck through some of the gaps. So, like,
yeah,
Van der Merwe, like, yes, he is a super freak,
yeah,
but he ran like 60 meters through an entire team. He beat like, what's going on? Like, do you know what I mean? He has
yeah.
to, after by tackle 3, the next guy up has to be milling him. You know what I mean? Forcing him to
But
at least make.
they were too far away from them. Like, it was just it wasn't anything to do with like technique or anything. It was just that their line was so chaotic,
Yeah,
and he just like saw it and he spotted it, and he must have either, well, he might have just ran and be like, oh my god, there's a gap, but he might have spotted that. He probably spotted that and knew like that they're weren't quick to organize a line or connect with anyone on either side of them from a kick. And so for the counter attack, like,
but even
oh
Hugh Jones try like the first one, a gigantic gap just opened in front of him, and
yeah,
then this is where you should be at your tightest. It was inside your own 15 meters. You should be at
yeah.
your tightest, and just this giant gap that in my decrepit years, I would have ran through and scored a try. You're like, what? What? How is that there at this level? Do you know what I mean? At this level,
Yeah,
it just goes to show. I mean, you watch the Premiership, and it's all singing, all dancing, and all the rest. And Ellis Genge is out there, and he's just banging lads, and he's mowing people down, quiet as a mouse. Yeah, he puts a few shots in on people, like, but what he's the deciding factor in a lot of these Premiership games.
yeah.
Not at the races, and it certainly didn't do anything to Scotland.
It is a bit funny, like in terms of, we put a lot of emphasis on the coach, um, in terms of like, what's he going to bring and how is he going to coach them and what styles and blah blah, all that stuff. But they're still very experienced players at the end of the
That's
day.
it. Yeah, you Maratoji, like,
Yeah, I
you
don't
know,
know.
you've Jamie George, you've Kyle Sinclair. These fellas don't need a new coach to come in and tell you how to play rugby. You were winning.
That's true. Yeah,
You were
exactly.
winning,
Yeah,
like, you've won
yeah,
before, lads. Like, what do the defensive thing is absolutely unforgivable on everybody's, because when you see gaps opening up like that, you wouldn't see that
yeah,
in third division, like,
yeah.
of the
I
club game. You
know.
wouldn't see gaps opening like that. Now I
Yeah,
know, like, your man Van der Merwe only got married. He only just came back from getting married in South Africa. Like, do you know? Yeah, imagine that. He was obviously on the piss somewhat.
didn't know that. Oh
Yeah,
Jesus.
can you imagine that? How, like, yes, when you do look at that man running, he is not of the same species as a lot of other people. Like, he is genetically a different beast. Like, when you see him traveling at full tilt, and then he just stops
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, and you're absolutely dashing on top of that as well. Like, good Lord Almighty. Like,
yeah. He's definitely not Scottish. Like, the arm and skin and the just
the full blonde quiff, like, and he's, yeah, no, he's not.
unless there's an unfound group of Celts living in the mountains up there that kind of loan their genes to him. But I would say that he's definitely brought like those South African genes with him into the Scottish gene pool. Will serve will serve for generations to come.
I
It'll
don't.
dilute it somewhat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
by
mean,
saying that, like Scottish and Irish is the same, like so.
pretty much, pretty much. Now they
But it's
do.
like it's like the players, like the players that come and play for Munster, Leinster, or whatever, and you can just spot them a mile away because they're so handsome.
I know it's.
And then all the Irish ones are like, "Whoa,
Yeah,
oh, we're great crack."
ears growing out of their neck and stuff like that. Yeah, he's a different. It's a different gravy, all right. Like, yeah, like Finn Russell is their number 10, and Finn Russell is, you know what? Like,
Actually, yeah, go on.
he's actually of Irish descent as well, by all accounts. There's Irish in him as well. And you're like, yeah, I can absolutely believe that. If you told me he was Zimbabwean or South African, I'd go, oh, interesting. But as soon as you go, no, he's of Scottish Irish descent. Yeah. Because standing beside, Duhan van der Merwe, like,
Van der Merwe.
Van der Merwe. Yeah. Duhan. Fucking Duhan, will ya? We're like,
the Van der Merwe's up the road.
Glaswegian Van der Merwe's. Yeah. It was actually hearing him speak afterwards. I saw people tweet online that didn't realize that he was South African. You're like, you didn't by just everything. Number one, you read his name, okay, you don't have to jump to conclusions. Have a look at him. Have a look. That human does not exist in this hemisphere. That doesn't.
Yeah.
You may be in Holland, maybe show up in Holland, maybe show up in Scandinavia, maybe.
But they're not the rugby playing countries. So
No.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Southern hemisphere looking, in stature and hair and everything.
Yeah. I mean,
I was going to say, we were talking about Finn Russell there. I love Finn Russell. He's just so entertaining. I was thinking, I just had a little, when I was in the rugby club watching the game, I just had a little scrap piece of paper and I was just writing down some like funny things or things that come into my head or like analysis from the game or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just took a little note on something, and one of the girls was like, "Oh, Anna, you have to share with us what you're writing down there now so that like we can improve or whatever." And I was like, ha ha ha. And I was like, "Oh, I will. So I wrote down, I was like, I think Townsend and Russell look really alike."
They actually do.
I wonder, is it his son?
Is that what we stumbled onto? That's what the falling out was. It was like, Dad, I don't want.
That's what came into my mind because the camera was on Finn Russell and then it flicked to Townsend and I was just like, oh my God, they have the same eyes. And I'd never noticed that before. So I was like, I wonder, is there
oh my God, I think you may have stumbled onto something there, because there was nobody could have explained the falling out, like, because you're leaving out one of the greatest out halves you've ever had, and they were going, he's a bit of a maverick, but you were a maverick out half too, Gregor. Oh, Jesus Christ.
But he like obviously found out one day and came to like Finn Russell and was like, Finn, I am your father. And then he was like,
oh, wait the fuck, Gregor. You're not my father.
I think we've discovered it.
You have absolutely. This will be the title card of the show. Will be their two faces alongside each other. Absolutely.
Yeah, I actually. Do you know what? Can you still do face swap? Is that still a thing? I'd love to do a face swap on them and see how like accurate it is.
If we're really good, I know a guy who actually can AI people's faces onto moving, so he could put Gregor's onto Finn's and Finn's onto Gregor's when they were.
I thought you were gonna say like, I know someone who can go and like snip some of their hair off.
I've had a lot of weird guests on my podcast, but never that.
Not that they've told us yet. So if anyone out there can snip things off, put them in a little vial and do a little test for us.
Oh, that's definitely, we need your feedback in relation to that. How, yes, please. We need your feedback in relation to that. Ooh, that hypothesis from, fuck.
No.
I think, ooh. Now we're saying there's not even allegedly. It's, you know what? I don't think we're going to get into any legal trouble. But I'll tell you what I noticed about England. They were,
Unless it's true.
yeah, exactly. Judge Judy moment or Jeremy Kyle. Can you imagine about Jeremy Kyle? The DNA analysis. It says, Gregor, you are Finn's father. No, fuck that. No. He's crazy. He won't go to the gym.
Yeah.
I thought, for me, England's fitness. I saw England's fitness was something I noticed. They were absolutely, like, there was a couple of guys obviously are going to be ripping, you know what I mean? Marcus Smith will run all day for you. But I got a feeling either their heart was like, shit, we're playing a shit game plan, and their soul started to drop out of their bodies a small bit. When you see, obviously, Duhan van den Merwe running, I'm going to say it like that forever, by the way, Duhan van den Merwe, like it's on the wind. Like, do you know what I mean? As he runs past, he's just saying his name. Duhan van den Merwe. Just, but I mean, when you see that, your soul would drop a small bit. But I thought they looked unfit versus what Ireland looked like. You know what I mean?
Versus Ireland, because Ireland were another level.
I'll tell you now, and this is my hypothesis, and I'd be interested to see if you agree. If you go back to, I think, one of the greatest upheavals and one of the forerunners that has actually, they talk about, you know, things happening in the All Blacks that changed world styles of rugby, and now it's kind of Ireland. And I think Japan changed rugby during the last World Cup because they were fitter than fucking everybody. Showed Ireland. And from then on, you saw all these teams absolutely focusing on bust your lungs fitness. Now look at Leinster, Munster, you know what I mean? Ireland. I genuinely, I can see from that, like, Ireland got shown up for their lack of fitness, even though you'd say you're fit, but then you see Japanese lads and you're like, he's running.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I genuinely, there's a through line that a bunch of teams who were all about smash them and bash them, suddenly fitness, if you can drag it out, drag them into deep waters and stick with them at the very least into the last 60, the last 20, if you still have plenty in the tank, and the big lads don't, like, I personally, I think it might be a Japanese thing that they changed the face of it because they showed you how to win without big lads or a high pedigree of rugby, you know. But that's my hypothesis. Your one is far more likely. I think your one is far more likely.
We'll definitely chat about Japanese rugby another day because I spent a little bit of time there.
Oh God, yes, yeah. Love to talk more about that. We won't get into
it today, but it's an interesting, and I've good friends involved in Japanese rugby, and like what you're saying there now, like definitely true. In terms of how they are focused on fitness, because obviously they're not going to outsmart you rugby wise, so they're kind of like, okay, well, what else can we do? But in terms of like, I was working as a tour guide for a company in Japan, and like I had a map of Japan up in front of me, and like I used to love like reading the names. I'd just be there like typing, and I'd have to type like the name of a city, like Hiroshima. And I just have to say it like out loud, like, Tokyo, Yokohama. And it's really like
there's no mellow there, because you hear a mellow fella naming a set of Yokohama tires, like Yokohama, like there's
Yokohama. If I was telling the
it's way more fun to say it like that.
I know, it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
From the diaphragm too. Everything is from the diaphragm.
Yes.
Well,
actually, in Japanese, Anna Caparis. It is. Caparisu.
Are we allowed to say that as two white people looking at each other here?
No, that's what my name is. That's what my name is. Eleanor is like the same sound in Japanese.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
It
sounded like we treaded on a landmine there. Two of the whitest people ever.
We've been skipping around those landmines all day.
I think there isn't a nationality that hasn't gotten a slap off us at some stage throughout this in some which way, with some of the scathing remarks out of Anna. Not me, of course.
Because we love it.
We love it.
We love it. I was going to add one more thing
from
the Clatter of the Week.
Yes, Clatter of the
I
Week. This is the
actually
one I've been waiting for. So this is we've had our 3 games. We've had not too much dirt, not a lot of dirt, with Peter O'Mahony breaking up a fight amazingly. Incredible. I mean, he did get in there a bit dirty at first, and they were going, "Oh, Peter O'Mahony, he's breaking up a fight." And I was like, he did kind of mill in to break up that fight. He ran at full belt with his head down to. Stop, lads! I'm trying. You know, like, here, stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Like he was. Yeah. Really, guys, we need to love each other, like hurting people with hugs.
Yeah, like a firm handshake, breaking knuckles.
So, Clatter of the Week is left up to you, because as a back rower who spent her entire career trying to melt people in half, because that's what back rowers do. They don't want to play rugby. They just like to hurt people. Who has taken... Oh, sorry, give us your spiel on Clatter of the Week, please.
Well, did you have an idea for Clatter of the Week?
Oh, like the one that stood out to me, and I messaged you about it, but I wasn't trying to push your hand. I just was going, have you watched this again? As what's his name's body, Dan Bigger's body, just leaves him from and
all years.
And in all fairness, like Gary, I was calling him Gary. Gary Ringrose.
Gary Glitter.
Almost. I don't know why, because I'd forgotten about Gary Glitter, and what a gross human he was. What it was, he's just so flashy and so class that.
Oh, Gary Glitter.
No, Gary Ringrose, not Gary. I mean, at a certain point in time, I'm sure people thought Gary Glitter was flashy.
Let's go back to talk about
Gary Ringrose. And he has been hitting a lot of people of late. And we talked about that scrag tackle where he got a hold of that, the last ditch tackle. But his tackling of late, and they seem to be pushing that in Leinster and Ireland. We're going, do you know what? He's made himself almost bigger as he closes that space so quickly. Lads they piss their pants. They don't know, do I get rid of the ball? What do I do? And I mean,
bigger.
He must have, it must be like taking a bite out of a juicy steak at international level in front of his home crowd. Like, he had relations in the audience. Do you know what I mean? Like, and Gary hits him. I'm saying Gary now, like we're mates. Gary Ringrose cuts him in half, like folds him as they say, a deck. Like, it was, to the point where it was like, he's been hit with a ton of stuff throughout his career, but my God, even he was lying on the ground, and people were going, if he wanted to go off, we'd say not. Do you know, if you want to go off, head off then go in for a cup of tea, because that was rotten. That for me was the Clatter of the Week, because, as you know, a lot of articles said, like, his soul left his body like something out of Mortal Kombat. It was just, but
it was brilliant.
But I'm not putting words in your mouth. You are the Clatter of the Week expert. Who was it for you?
Just in terms of I already gave out all our awards, and no one in England or Scotland got one. So to kind of share out the love, I actually went for, and it's a kind of a good talking point for where we're at as well at the moment at rugby. Sione Tuipolatu went to make a tackle on Freddie Stewart, and like, this was replayed as well, like it was retweeted and slow-mo and all the rest, and like Freddie Stewart is like, must be like 100 and whatever, like kg, just completely bounces off Sione Tuipolatu, and like, you can see his leg bending. Stewart's leg, you can see his leg bending like the bow on a fiddle. Because he runs at him so hard. But like, what I was thinking about was like, how, if World Rugby is going to change the game to bring in those low tackles, like, that was a textbook low tackle. Freddie Stewart might have been on his heels a little bit, but like, still, he's perfectly low enough. That's where they want the tackles to be made. And Freddie Stewart comes in with this hook. I actually hate it. I've never used it as a player, and I hate tackling players who use it as well. Like, they drop low and they hook their arm up so that they can get under you coming in to like wrap their legs, so that you can make it difficult for you. And it's exactly what he did. He completely bounced him off. And like, it was brilliant, brilliant attack. But it just left me a bit confused. I'm like, okay, if this is what people are expected to do in defense, what on earth? What on earth is the game going to turn into in terms of like wrapping people up or stopping
Well,
the offload, or
it's
stopping players? I don't know. It
it's
was a brilliant
interesting.
chapter.
It's a very interesting one, and I noticed a lot of Southern Hemisphere people and a lot of rugby league use that fender, that big hook fender. It absolutely nullifies the heavy hit coming in, but also it can nearly take somebody's head off. Like Ben Healy got yellow carded for it 2 weeks ago for using a fend. They were like, oh, it went for, like, what was hilarious is that at the time the refs went, well, it hit his chest and rode up. So in other words, you're going, oh, it's a penalty. So it's a yellow card, is it? Oh, so,
I know.
but they're either going to have to get rid of that as well. That hook, as you talked about it, that big old chicken wing coming up,
But to be
because
fair, like that was a that was a big clatter from the weekend. It didn't happen all the time, and also like there weren't a lot of there was no cards for high tackles, no red cards, and correct me if I'm wrong here.
well, the one on Sexton, all right, you know what I mean. Where
Oh yes,
yeah,
which
yeah,
was
yeah.
There were mitigating factors there, definitely.
I mean, given that, I think Sexton should have gone off for HIA. If one should go in hand with the other, I think one should go in hand
Really
with the
agree with
other.
that.
Like,
Sorry, of course that one was, and he was standing upright as well when he made the tackle, but kind of very close range,
yeah,
so he didn't. That was it wasn't one of these big ones where you see in the screen where everyone's like, ooh, and you're just, and the referees are up in arms because they don't know what to do. This was quite innocuous one, so at least that's starting to change. Like the cards that were like ripped out of the pockets over the last year
oh
that
yeah,
everyone was like howling over. We didn't see much of that this weekend. Touch wood, it doesn't
yeah, it was clean.
haunt us throughout the rest of the tournament.
So, in closing, your clatter of the week is given to
Freddie Stewart.
Freddie
Ding, ding,
Stewart.
ding.
Brilliant. All right, so before we head away off into the sunset, moonlight, whatever part of the time of the day.
Night.
Coming up next week, we have Ireland versus France. Very interesting place to be. The whole tournament has spun open very, very interesting. Like emotionally, probably for a few, and probably the emotions probably are the big thing. How do Ireland approach this one? How do France approach this one? What's your thinking? I mean,
Andy Farrell was already was out saying like he wants the crowd to like eat them up.
okay.
Basically. So call to arms there for the Irish fans. Like if I had tickets for it, I'd be like, yes, bring out my pitchfork. But it's gonna be juicy, isn't it? I'm actually I don't know now. I was supposed to be going to France, supposed to be going to Bordeaux to watch
you were
it
saying
over
that,
there
yeah.
in the pub, but I'm not sure yet. I've no job.
Major drawback.
So it depends how much money is left in my pocket at the end of the week. If I'll go to France this year, not to watch it in Bordeaux, to basically heckle some French people, which I love.
That'd be class.
So yeah, because it'll be a good old game. But I feel like Ireland. Should have just given on going on last week's performance. But as I always say, the one thing you can't take away from the French is the fact that they are.
Yeah, they're the champions. So.
No, French.
Oh yeah, sorry. Jesus, what was I doing? What was I doing? Come on, Tom. I don't.
It
I
was,
mean,
it was so obvious it was hard.
yeah, there. That's actually it. It was so obvious. I think we probably said we talked pretty much. Yeah, it should have made perfect sense. There's a bunch of people listening to this going, "What's wrong with the Tom fella? Has he been hit in the head? Has he had a blow to the head? What's up?" Because literally we
He did,
talked exactly that style about the French earlier. You're right, but I don't. I think Sean Edwards did actually change that attitude a small bit when he came on board. He wasn't having any of that, they leave their
Yeah, yeah,
emotion, they leave their heart on the bus kind of shit. I think he was like,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
get
yeah.
out and fucking smash him. And I mean, him and Andy Farrell are cut from the same cloth. I don't see there certainly won't be the gaps that it opened up against Wales early doors. But in saying that, you've Caelan Doris. Do you know what I mean? Go on, Caelan. Go on, old Dory. Pure mayo beef, like just absolutely milling, lads. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see the team he picks too. I mean, I know it's a fairly settled team, and they're down. Gibson Park is gone again. Tyke Furlong is still out, and I think somebody else might be out as well, as a result of an injury. I'm not sure, but Jesus, was Andrew Porter. Did Andrew Porter go down as well during training, or something's up. They're light enough in the front row, and given when I still forget. I still get surprised every time I see Searle Wilby. Searle By is one of the biggest humans. He's about 9 foot across the shoulders. You could play handball off the fucker's back. He's absolutely huge. Jesus Christ. So it might be a case of that's where I think Conor Murray could be really cute, because he's smart enough to know, get it in, get it out. Get it in, get it. Because you see sometimes Gibson Park and even Casey, they're like, guys, I believe in you. You're like, yeah, they've got 50 kilos on us up the front. Get it in and hook it as fast as you can. Number
In and
8.
out like a fiddler's elbow.
Exactly. Number 8, leave your legs open. Just let it roll straight out like an egg. Like an egg out of a hen's arse. Let it roll straight out. And
Yeah,
let
true.
it get it out fast. Because the last thing you want to do is compete against them sows. Because that's all them fellas are bred for all day long. And if we're a bit light up the front, I'm thinking, see, can we drag him around the pitch a small, especially the big heavy lads? See, can you pull him around the field a small bit and into heavy waters?
Given the fitness that Ireland showed last week,
Yeah.
As long as they're not totally bollocks, but they shouldn't be. I mean, it was in the end like 34-10 win. They were able to take the foot off the gas,
They did. There was a 20-25 minute period there where, I mean, you could say,
Mm-hmm.
where all the tackles leveled up again. You know what I mean? There was an unbelievable discrepancy at halftime, but they leveled up again. But Ireland they were never getting smashed in the tackle either. Like, they were like, yeah, we'll just soak this all day long. So maybe there might be a bit of mileage left on the clock there as a result of that. But
Yeah.
what's your feeling on it?
I'm
Ireland?
I think you can always be scared of France, but yeah, I'm gonna go for Ireland. Definitely.
Yeah, I won't go again you on that one. I mean, yeah, we have some all right looking people playing for us now. But in all fairness, you've Entimac there just standing around with, a smoky cigarette, even Ramos. They have a lot of good looking people out the back. So if nothing else, France, fair play to you on that. You have a lot of good looking people. Jelly Baby comes on, might have, he's got the cool tats as well. So yeah, I think we're both feeling that Ireland will probably do it, but from a very pragmatic point of view, we're not getting cocky. We know there's a World Cup coming and all the rest, but look, tis what it is. Ireland.
If it takes losing for us to learn any lessons,
yeah,
take it.
Yeah, they will take learnings, because that 25-minute period last weekend, while Andy Farrell said it was great and all the rest, but he literally went, no, I'm delighted. I'm actually delighted because now I have something to put my foot in their hole with, over the week.
To work with. What would you do if you won
Comfortably
much to nil and didn't? How would you face into the week?
Yeah.
I know you could look at France and work on that, but also you need to know what you yourself are bringing to the game. And if you've got something to improve on from the week before, that's an easy fix, because they are easy fixes for Ireland. And yeah, I actually am looking forward to it now again.
Scotland, Wales. Scotland have a point to prove now that they've got a strut in their walk. They've got a strut in their stuff, and it's been played in Murrayfield too.
It'd be typical Scotland for them to throw this away now.
Yeah, Finn will probably go out in the rip. Do you know what I mean? Just to piss off Daddy.
But sure,
Just
they were all drinking from the cup and everything, like the Calcutta cup, like, so. Be typical now that they just turn up and
what's
you're
the
rolling
crack?
to the ceiling.
Is
The
there
tights
anybody
tied
in
onto the ceiling.
Calcutta? Like, was Mother Teresa going, class, let's make a cup about rugby? Nobody in Calcutta's playing fucking rugby. Mother Teresa was sure she didn't get like it just this old colonial cup that they're like, lads, call it something else. Call it, give it a
That's a good point. You just when it's kind of something that's just so
yeah.
regular, you don't even question it. What's like yeah, I know. Let's look into that.
They should just change
But
it now. Call it the Doddy Wear Cup. Cut away all that imperialistic shit that they were, it's a long time since they owned Calcutta. Come on, lads. Give it up
agreed.
now. Give it up.
Agreed.
That's me putting my political foot down on that one. Scotland, Wales, we don't. Sure, who knows? I would see. I mean, you would say the bookies have probably got Scotland at it in Murrayfield. We talked about your one up on top, or your man look. Wait, we're not judging. If you're wearing a skirt or a kilt, you can identify as whatever you want right now. But if you're standing on top of the fucking roof, fair play to you. Oh,
Identify as a piper.
blue. There won't be a blue bit of face paint to be gotten in the whole of Scotland next weekend. Still, it's be a cracking match to be at. I'm going to say Wales. I'm going to say Wales. I'm going to say Wales. Yeah. I just think with a small, like I think they got they just got caught by Ireland. Fucking Ireland are class right now. That's the reality. We have to kind of own up to it. Ireland are utterly class right now. I think Wales will have another week. They'll have some work-ons to go with.
Yeah.
But they're saying they're old and all the rest. Halloween, he is 102, and there's a couple of lads. But at the same time, they got your man. What's his Rio that was playing on the wing? Like he looked a hell of a lot of fun. I know Reece Zammit isn't back, but
the young fella, he did really well actually, didn't he?
I think if they ground themselves into positions, cracked over 3-6-9, and close those gaps that England were leaving wide open for our it could be a different day, but I'm going to go with Wales in this one. I don't think they're going to dump the championship or dump the whole thing on one game. They've got something. They played well for that half an hour in the second half. They played well. Yeah. And I think Scotland could get too giddy for themselves. That was it's fucking brutal winning a cup at the beginning of a tournament. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing?
And they enjoyed it, they said.
Of course they did. Yeah, they'll enjoy it. Yeah.
In the dressing room afterwards.
Yeah.
Sure. Fair play.
Fair play.
Small wins. But then, it's all fine until the next week works out or not. Like, it's always the right decision.
Yeah, of course. Hindsight. Yeah.
It goes wrong. So, but that, if you're going to have a few drinks, you may be turning up to training in good form. That's
fair enough. And very interesting one could be a right banana skin, I suppose. England. Now it is in Twickers, but apparently, the atmosphere was shite. As an English fan at the weekend, they were getting outsung in Twickenham by Scotland, which is going to happen anyway. But they've got Italy coming to town. Italy, I said they've got a poker up their hole at the minute. They will probably feel. Would they feel like they left it? They did. Sure, you said it. They left it slip. They were fluting around the last 5 minutes because they don't have the pedigree, I think, or the know-how that it takes an old fella like Peter O'Mahony to go, yeah. Put that fucking thing up your jumper for the next 5 minutes, and I don't want to see you back with that in his hands. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Go down every time one he has a half a twinge, or everybody lose a fucking contact lens. Every one of you lose a cuteness. Yeah. They didn't have it, but England, are they? What do you reckon? Are they going to be through their floor, misery-wise?
It's as good an opportunity as Italy will get coming to Twickenham.
Yeah. It would definitely change the face of rugby in Italy. Do you know what I mean? Wouldn't it? If you go to England and beat England in the home of rugby, you go and beat them in the home of rugby. HQ, as they call it.
they'll certainly have that on their minds now. That'll certainly be their right. Okay, we actually could do that this weekend.
Well, there's no pressure on them. There's not the pressure that's on England, that's for sure.
That's true.
So what you reckon? What you thinking?
Right, we'll go Italy. Even though we went to Italy last week and they lost, so maybe I should go England just to try and get an Italian win.
Yeah, I do. I think I would. We'd both love to see. Not because look, you played in England. I mean, I think it's a bit old now at this stage, a bit hacky to be going, beat England. I think England have been shite for a few years, so I think we're all nearly feeling sorry for them at this stage. I'd love to see Italy winning because it's like the little brother who's been pissing around.
That's it. We wanted Italy to win against France anyway. So
yeah. I mean, they've been pissing around for years, and now finally they're off the drink. Do you know what I mean? They're after getting themselves a decent job. The car's a fixer-upper, but like, you know, they've shaved for the first time in months. They smell good, and hey, you know what? Maybe if they get, they get themselves together, it might work out. You know, that they actually hold on. They might actually be becoming an adult. You know, which is it's all we ever wanted for them, for Italy, is to actually just make their way in the world and stop arsing about.
Yeah, we say that until they turn up and beat Ireland.
I know.
We never wanted this. Italy out.
Georgia, are you back there? Portugal, Spain, anyone? Come on.
Stop. I'll go Italy. I'll go Italy.
Yeah, I'm going to go England because I think absolute fear. They'll play the most boring stop the bus rugby. 14 men in the line, just dragging lads into rucks, lying on top of balls, which goes against the spirit of the game. But I think they would take a half a point victory if they'll get it next weekend. I mean, they have unbelievable players, unreal players, but it's all for all that's in the head. It might scupper them because the pressure's all on England at home. So I'm going to say England because I think they're going to play boring ass rugby just to close the game, close it out. I'd love to see Italy doing it, but yeah, we have it. Thus ends our second episode. That's exciting, isn't it?
It is 6th of February 2023. And 8th of February 2023.
Exactly. But if nothing else, we discovered what Anna stumbled upon, because I'm pretty sure she's 100% right on the fact that she reckons the Townsend Russell. I think you're right. I think you're right. We'll cut together the two pictures, and I wonder has anybody ever come to that conclusion before? Don't know. If it's your first time listening, whatever platform you're listening to, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or the other ones, hit subscribe, hit the bell as well, so that it pops into your phone. It's arrived. You're excited. You love it. If you would please take a screenshot, tag us on whatever platform, either Banana Capeless or Tom O'Mahony. You'd find us wherever you need to find us. You'll find us. Let us know your opinions on Clatter of the Week, what you think a lad would be good for throughout the game. Maybe you disagree with Pete when it comes to the quality of grass, and who Dick of the Day was. Had you a different Dick of the Day? Whose Dick of the Day did you think was a good Dick of the Dink? I'm trying to fit in as many D's as I can. There doesn't seem to be enough Dick of the Day.
Did you, Dick?
If you have a different one, then Anna, please let us know. Let us know. Twitter is probably the best place to write stuff, but if you want to comment underneath the Instagram post that we'll both have on this, please do. Tell Nana, whoever you need to tell about this podcast, tell them. Share the love. We'll be back next week. Anna, class. Till next week.
Good luck.